Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. Our creative design team has another video collab for you showing you creative ways to use alphabets. Before we get started, go ahead and take a few seconds to click that subscribe button below. So are you ready to start learning a few creative ways to use alphabets? Here I have some paper scraps from the Stitch Together and Mix-Ins paper packs. I also have a piece of watercolor paper. Now I've chosen to use some watercolor paper for my background because I like the texture of the watercolor paper. I also have two 3.5 by 3.5 photos here of my brother with his niece and nephew that I framed in white daisy cardstock. Let me show you how this layout goes together. I have cut the watercolor paper in half lengthwise and I am adhering it to the top and bottom of a piece of white daisy cardstock. I am usually a very frugal person and I probably would have figured out how to put all of this together without adding the white daisy in the background. But for this video, I am placing it all on white daisy so it's easier for you to see how it's assembled. I am using mostly scraps for this layout, so you're going to see a variety of zip strips and half-inch strips of papers from the mix-ins and from the Stitch Together paper pack. The right side is being left blank because I have a second page I'll be creating later. I've chosen this bold pattern to match my summer theme and a soft pattern from the Mix-Ins paper pack. I like to mix bold patterns with softer patterns so that they don't clash on my layout. Now I'm trimming each one of these down so that I still show quite a bit of that watercolor texture. Then I'm going to go grab my corner rounder, which happens to be a retired item, but I'm sure you have one somewhere in your stash, and I'm going to round the two corners of each of these pieces of paper. We are going through the assembly portion of this layout quite quickly because I want to make sure that we really focus on the alphabet portion of this layout. So here I am just gluing down each one of those patterned papers, and then I'm going to start adding the photos. Here are some photos of my brother with my nephew and daughter when all of them were quite young. They've been cut at 3.5 by 3.5 and framed in white. I want my photos to pop up off that floral paper, and one of the ways I can do this is with Picture My Life cards. These are designed for our pocket memory protectors and our everyday life albums, but because they also match our current paper packs, I know that I can use them behind photos as little photo mats or little enhancements to help them pop up off the page. So you just watch me go through the PML pack and decide on this card for the enhancement behind my photo. I did also happen upon this plaid card and I like it much better on the left. It's not as noisy as that floral zip strip. So I'm trimming it down and I have moved over that mix-ins paper cut and I'm going to place those little plaid strips above and below the mix-ins. Like I said earlier, I am a very frugal person with my crafting supplies. Since most of this Picture My Life card is going to be hidden behind the photo, I'm going to trim off the excess and keep the rest for a later project. Now I can adhere those photos into place and start working on the title. To create my title, I'm going to be using our white alphabet foam stickers. These letters are about 1.5 inches tall and 1/8 inch thick. I have found that these can be difficult to get nice and straight and evenly spaced on a project, so I'm going to show you how I do just that. The first thing I need to do is measure the space where my title's going to go. Then I'm going to pull out my Versamat so that I can use that measuring grid for my spacing. So here you see me laying down a piece of wax paper and I'm going to tape it down with Post-it tape. Before Miss Katie taught me this wax paper trick, I used to stick my letters down onto a gridded ruler and try to place them onto the page without tearing them. Thank you, Miss Katie, for such an ingenious idea. I'm able to lay this wax paper right onto the grid of my Versamat and use those lines to make sure all the letters are straight and evenly placed. After laying down this title, I realized that I did not take up the whole 6 inches I could have used, and I needed to space the letters a little bit farther apart. Thank goodness I had wax paper. If I had done this on my actual layout, there is no way I could have moved these letters. I'm going to repeat the same process with the word day, using my Versamat to line up each one of those letters onto that grid, and then I'm going to cut these two words apart, keeping them on the wax paper. Now this is where the magic happens. I'm placing the wax paper right on top of that patterned paper, and I'm placing the words where I want them on the layout. Once I've made the decision where they're going to go, I can peel back a portion of that wax paper, fold it down, and lay those letters where they're going to go right there on that patterned paper. Now I'm just going to press along the tops of each one of the letters. Once they're stuck in place, I can carefully peel off the wax paper underneath and lay down the bottom portion of each letter. This does take a little bit of extra time than it would if you just laid down each one of the letters, but this ensures that they are straight and evenly spaced in the area you want your title to go. Now that you know how to align our white foam alphabet letters, let's take a look at another creative way to use alphabets on this layout. I've cut a white tag using our new tags and tabs thin cuts, and I'm going to be stamping with the modern typewriter alphabet. To figure out what inks I want to use, I'm just going to look at the zip strip on the stitched together paper. Here I will find a list of all the colors that match this patterned paper pack. So I've gathered a collection of inks that will match these paper packs, and I'm going to start forming a variety of words on my acrylic blocks. I've chosen the words sun, love, joy, and today. All of these are going to be spelled using letters from that modern typewriter alphabet. I've spoken about adding these small letters to blocks in a couple of my previous videos. Since oil buildup from your fingers will prevent these letters from sticking on the backing sheet, I like to use tweezers to place these letters onto my blocks. To make sure my lines of text are straight, I have drawn some lines in pencil on my tag. I also have all of those inks I showed you earlier open and ready to start stamping. Over on the right, you'll see our stamp chamois, which has been dampened with some of our stamp cleaner. This allows me to clean each one of those stamps in between each color, making the process go a lot faster. I'm going to stamp each one of those words across the tag in a variety of colors. Some of the words are going to go off the edge. A few of the letters are a bit askew, but I think it adds a little bit of whimsy to this layout. Creating this tag is another creative way to use your alphabets. Let's go ahead and complete the layout. Here I have a peach piece of mix-ins that I have cut to fit right behind that tag. It just adds a little bit of color and makes that tag pop up off the page. I'm going to adhere the tag onto the page using some thin 3D foam tape. Then I'm going to create a decorative knot using this white ribbon. If you wanted to, you could dye this ribbon another color to match one of the colors of the layout. I've shown how to do this in my dragonfly card video. The link should be popping up right now. Once I've created that decorative knot, I decided it needed a little bit more at the top of that tag, so I went and grabbed my wooden buttons. In this bag, there are heart-shaped buttons and round buttons. This needle is a very long darning needle I found on Amazon. It works perfectly with our crochet thread and our embellishing thread to create stitching around the centers of the buttons. Now that the button's in place, I'm going to start embellishing the layout with our stitched together stickers. Over on the right, you see all of the stickers upside down in a tray, and I'm pouncing them with my anti-static bag. This removes the stickiness from the stickers, allowing me to place them on the layout without committing to their placement. While you watch me try to decide where to place the stickers, I do want to tell you a little bit more about these photos. My brother and I are 15 years apart. That's quite an age gap between two siblings. When I was 19 years old, I started having children, which meant my brother was only 4 when his first nephew arrived. In the summertime, my 11-year-old brother often came over to play with my 6-year-old son, 5-year-old son, 3-year-old daughter, and 1-year-old son. We also had my 2 nephews who were 8 months old and 2 months old, which meant that our house was full in the summertime. These photos remind me how much he was more like a sibling than an uncle at that age. Now that I've decided where the stickers are going to go, I want to add a little bit of pink down in this lower left-hand corner. So I've grabbed this heart zip strip and I'm tearing off the edge, and I'm just going to stick a little strip of it right across here under the flower. Because the adhesive was removed from those stickers using my anti-static pouch, I do need to go in and adhere them to the page using liquid adhesive and foam dots. So here I am in fast mode using some thick dots and thin dots to adhere everything down onto the page. There are a few things here that are retired items. That perfect statement and the little peach statement that says, "This is the best," are both retired stickers from our summer line a few years back. To create a visual triangle, I did cut this little tab from our tags and tab thin cuts. I cut it from the same PML card that I cut those strips from on the left side. To finish off this layout, I added a few additional embellishments. I did some hand stitching on those little plaid PML strips. I also typed my journaling on some vellum. Using the modern typewriter alphabet, I heat embossed the date onto that little cut tab. This is another great way to use those alphabet stamps. This layout is simply adorable with all of those stitched together components. I especially love the addition of those foam letter alphabet stickers and those little typed sentiments on the tag and the tab embellishment. I hope that you learned some creative new ways to use alphabets and that you were inspired to pull out your alphabet stickers and stamps and try a few of these techniques. Many of the members on our creative design team have other creative alphabet uses for you to try. You can click on her video link down in the description below. New projects are added every week to my blog and YouTube channel. If you enjoyed today's project and wish to see more in the future, make sure to click that subscribe button and notification icon so you are notified when new videos are added. If you wish to see more creative design team projects like this one, you can click on the collection icon above. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.